All right, now, because Cnidaria lack brains, they're radially symmetrical, so they don't have a brain, and they don't have blood or hearts, because that would come from mesoderm. They're very, very simple. When you look at the construction, they have 3 layers, but only 2 of them are cell layers, so I don't want you to confuse that. Their outside layer is a cell layer, the epidermis. This is a protective layer, and it's also the layer that contains the nerve net. We'll talk about it in just a minute, but we've already mentioned the cnidocytes. So the epidermis, that is a cell layer. That's ectoderm. Epidermis is ectoderm. Then it has this middle layer called the mesoglial layer. And this is actually the middle layer, and this is where jellyfish got their name, because it's a jelly-like layer. But it's not a cell layer. And then the inside layer is the gastrodermis, and that's the innermost layer. It is tissue layer, and this is the digesting cells here, so that it's the food that's coming in is going to be digested within these cells. This animal has intracellular digestion, just like our jellyfish did. They will be digested within cells, and then, of course, the waste is going to be expelled through the mouth. So this is a gastralized animal. It has undergone gastrulation, but only 2 layers, ectoderm and endoderm. This middle layer is not a tissue layer. It's not a cell layer. It's just jelly, and that's actually where he got his name. Now, the nerve net. The nerve net is this network of sensory that allows this animal to pick up impulses and relay those impulses to all parts of its body. There are these cnidocytes that are in this nerve net, and the nerve net is located in the ectoderm or the epidermis. And it's totally a response to stimuli. And the type of stimulus that a jellyfish would undergo, or a coral, would be, is there prey? Am I getting ready to be eaten by something? So if something is prey, then this nerve net is going to send impulses and allow this animal to get away, if the animal is capable of moving. Then the nerve net can also detect this is food, and so there's going to be a reaction in which those cnidocytes can expel the nematocyst, and the nematocyst is capable of stinging its prey. Also, these impulses are causing some contractions of some muscle-like cells, and they don't get into these too deep in your book, but there are some muscle-like cells in the ectoderm and in the endoderm that allow these cells to contract. Of course, the hydrostatic pressure is going to release the nematocyst from the nematocyte, but these muscle cells also help in movement. Jellyfish inhabit every ocean of the world, and some of them live in very deep water, some of them live in very shallow water. They can move in a vertical type movement with these muscle cell contracting. However, they can't move horizontally. They usually move horizontally just with the current and the motion of the ocean, but they are capable of moving vertically with these muscle-like layers. Now, there are 2 body forms of the jellyfish, or any of the members of this particular phylum. The first is the polyp form, and the polyp form is sessile, meaning that it is fixed on the bottom of a reef or to the ocean floor. And this is the juvenile form. There's going to be a picture in here in just a minute to show you what I'm talking about. But basically, this is a bell form with tentacles. And the polyp looks like the upside down form of the medusa. So the Medusa form now is going to be the adult form. And it is the form that when we think of jellyfish, this is the form we think of because it's free moving. It's not stuck on the bottom of the ocean floor. This is the one that's got the tentacles that sting us. But if you were to turn this bell upside down, then you would have the polyp form. So the polyp form is the juvenile form, and then the Medusa, the kind that we think about, this is your adult form. And its lateral movement with the ocean is called an undulating motion. So again, it vertically can move from the deep ocean to shallow with these little muscle cells that can contract, but it can't go horizontally. The horizontal motion comes with this undulating motion. It is the current of the ocean. Now, a lot of jellyfish have what are called ocelli, and ocelli are sort of like eye spots that Euglena had, but sometimes they're on stalks. So depending, there's all kinds of jellyfish, guys. I think there's like 7 to 10,000 species of jellyfish, and we're just trying to do an overview of them. So some of these sensitive organs are actually in the epidermis, and some of them are on stalks, but they're just light sensitive. And so for jellyfish to be able to detect light, they are capable of detecting it with these ocelli, and they can move from the bottom of the ocean towards the surface. When we get into our insects, insects have ocelli that can detect motion. Now, the ocelli of the jellyfish are not detecting motion. They are only detecting light. But later, the ocelli for insects detect motion, so they can detect something that's in back of them, especially if they have a predator in back of them. And they're not performing an image formation. They are only to detect light. Some jellyfish have these ocelli. Some of them have thousands of ocelli, and some of them don't, just depending on what kind of jellyfish you're talking about.